Greetings one and all, and welcome to another episode of Late Night Ponderings, my series of mini editorials that covers a wide range of subjects. Today's subject, Things Change, and Money Talks, an ode to Assassin's Creed. Gaming has been a mainstream hobby for at least a decade or so. Esports have become a viable career choice alongside Let's Players, Twitch streamers, and video essayists. Well, depending on your funding, of course. Getting bullied at school because you play video games is practically an artifact of the 90s, 2000s, and early 2010s. A study back in 2019 by NPD stated 3 out of every 4 people play video games, or in Finances Online, they say that in 2020, 2.69 billion people are playing video games. There are probably other statistics that vary in number, however, the point still stands. The video game market has grown immensely. With this increase in audience, many games have made considerable changes in their base formulas in order to keep up with the evolving market. To quell the nagging voice in my head that wants me to state the obvious, allow me to do so. Yes, I realize that sometimes they have to change with the times for any business to survive in the current world market. However, sometimes they don't have to change too much. And the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, very much applies. For example, Pokemon hasn't changed their base gameplay in years. They've used the very standard rock, paper, scissors JRPG format, plain and simple. Sure, they've added new types of Pokemon and expanded upon the core mechanics, which made it more complex or broken depending if you are one of those poor souls like me who attempted to play in the competitive scene. Compared to Fallout, a game that went from a top-down CRPG to an FPS, all thanks to a change in developer. Even after that, the differences between Fallout 3, New Vegas, and even Fallout 4 are enough to send fans into endless debates on how much the series has changed, and whether or not it's still good. Then there's Assassin's Creed, a series that has gone from a stealth-based assassination game with beautiful locales to a sometimes stealth-based action RPG with beautiful locales. Gamers have been split right down the middle with the changes in this once beloved pure stealth series, and it's interesting to see. Between discussion threads on Reddit, to this user's whole manifesto on the entire series before they eventually gave up and stopped writing. Some comments do illuminate the divide within these threads, as well as the problems with the various open-world Ubisoft games as a whole, which I will now read in various voices. I don't know. Lack of success or lukewarm reception was the biggest incentive to change the formula, as well as inspiration from Witcher 3, which really became obvious in a bit more well-crafted side quest. I don't know if changing the name would have a large influence to change up formulas, especially at Ubisoft, which follows a certain formula for all open-world games, no matter the name. I loved the first 2 Assassin's Creed games to death, and then it became readily apparent that this was just going to become a annual/semi-annual pump-out game, like Call of Duty, and that's all it is to me now. This is a series that should have concluded in 3 or 4 games, and had it done so, probably would have been one of the better and more ambitious game narratives out there. But now, every game just feels like another cash grab, and at least a couple of them have been released in a pretty broken state. I don't see much that can make me go back and catch up with everything that's happened since the Ezio arc at this point. Similarly to how many modern-day Tales games are defined by action RPG fighting style, Creed had a set gameplay system that relied primarily on sneaking, stealth, and then gratuitous murder. It had unique elements like blending in with the crowd and hiding in hay barrels, which of course changed in the more modern iterations. Don't get me wrong, the sneaky sneak stab in the throat gameplay is still there, but there's more traditional Ubisoft action RPG elements. While playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I noticed it resembles Horizon Zero Dawn far more than any of the previous AC games. The only remnant of the previous games that I see is its bizarre story and stunning locales. In fact, the locations and exploring the time periods that have been thrust upon you has become what most people know about the series, rather than the whole assassination part of Assassin's Creed. It has gotten to the point that recent titles have included modes that allow you to enjoy that aspect of the game alone, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey with its exploration mode, and Valhalla having 3 separate exploration difficulties: Adventurer, Explorer, and Pathfinder. Assassin's Creed is becoming more like other franchises under Ubisoft's belt, like Far Cry and Watch Dogs. This was one of the very few mainstream stealth games out there, and it was how it gained its popularity in the first place. There are countless indie games that are similar to Assassin's Creed, but arguably better. Katana Zero being my first choice, followed closely by Mark of the Ninja. Mind you, this isn't a one-to-one comparison since both of these are 2D games. Even with Assassin's Creed moving in a different direction, it seems that if you follow the indie game scene like I do, you are hardly bereft of choice. While action combat sequences have always been present in Creed, something I know I've repeated at this point, doing things in a stealthy way and blending in with the world around you in order not to get caught was a major part of the game. Well, that and the weird past to present storyline. For the sake of my own sanity, I'm not going to talk about the main story because that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. On the bright side, it's not Kingdom Hearts, but still. There's an excellent example of a fanbase evolving with the series itself. I've noticed that those who enjoy Kingdom Hearts enjoy the gameplay of the main series titles for the most part. The series managed to evolve with the fanbase without alienating them completely. Outside of the wait for 3, there are only a few games that come to mind that made the fanbase scratch their heads. Chain of Memories, Dream Drop Distance, and Melody of Memory are all titles that received more confusion from fans than love. While you can argue other games also cause divides, these are the ones that tend to get debated the most, or at least from what I've observed. This is not taking into account the mobile games, mind you. It has deviations for the most part, but Kingdom Hearts has grown and retained its fan base thanks to its consistency. The base mechanic of you whack an enemy with a keyblade is still very much intact, which is why most people are here. Well, I guess they're here because of the Disney property, cute anime-style characters, depression, and friendship. In direct contrast, Assassin's Creed, while it's always had its action aspects, bringing them to the forefront has, as I've stated, alienated its core audience, but has also attracted a new one. It doesn't look like they'll be going back on it anytime soon either, considering that Assassin's Creed Valhalla has sold more than any other game in the series at this time. Money talks, and while I'd hypothesize that there's a chance that they may go back to their roots at some point, like most series do nowadays, as of this point in time, the series is on a direct path to be another Ubisoft action world RPG bonanza. Stealth is no longer the golden child it once was. I've heard it's more of a focus in Valhalla, but from what I can tell, it hasn't resumed its former glory from previous games. On a personal note, I have no attachment to the Assassin's Creed games. Still, I'm fascinated with how they've evolved in the changing market of games. I've recently beaten Fallout 4, and while some fans who are newer to the series as a whole have been discussing which ending I chose and my general decisions throughout the game, I have other fans of Fallout who beg me to play New Vegas to get the true experience. Since the differences between the two titles are still divisive, I shouldn't be surprised, I suppose, but I wonder if this is how newer Assassin's Creed fans feel when they talk to other fans about the series. The question is with this evolution is what a game company would rather do. Keep their changing product with the evolving market, even if it doesn't please those who've been fans for years, or make less money trying to stick to a tried and true formula. They could do both, but that costs money and carries more risk. Cost effectiveness is the name of the game, people, and while I could prattle on about how game companies should cater to all bases for maximum profit, that'd be illogical of me. It's not a surefire guarantee for profit. In the AAA industry, safe is the name of the game right now. Make classics feel like new again! Add sequels to long-dead franchises! Pokemon adding multiple features that will be more than likely forgotten in the next game! Digimon Survive never getting released and joining Beyond Good and Evil 2 in development hell. It's paint by numbers at this point. Things change, so money flows into the pockets of our corporate overlords in the AAA industry. If you don't want them to see a single bit of your money, then don't buy the product. Yet, judging by those sales numbers, even if you decide against it, there are dozens more that'll take your place. This is why my interest veers more to indie games than it does to the AAA industry, because while a game may evolve, the vile underbelly of business always stays the same. I'm Red Angel, and I'll see you next time.